Most men today wake up believing they are living their own lives, but they are merely surviving someone else's design. They go to work tired, come home exhausted, scroll through screens until their eyes blur, and fall asleep wondering why nothing feels significant anymore. They tell themselves it is just a phase, that things will get better next month, next year, after the promotion, after the move, after something changes. But nothing changes because they are waiting for external shifts in a game that can only be won internally. I have spent decades observing human behavior, watching people destroy their own potential not through lack of talent or opportunity, but through a fundamental misunderstanding of where true power actually resides. They search for strength in all the wrong places. They look for it in motivation videos that fade by lunch, in self-help books that collect dust after the first chapter, in advice from people who have never fought their own battles. And so they remain weak, not because they lack capability, but because they have never developed the one thing that separates those who win from those who merely wish. Mental strength, real mental strength. Not the performance of toughness, not the illusion of resilience, but the quiet, unshakable internal structure that allows a person to keep moving when everything inside them screams to stop. The modern world has created a very specific kind of suffering. It is not the suffering of poverty, though that exists. It is not the suffering of war, though that persists in corners of the world. It is the suffering of inner collapse while everything around you looks fine. You have a job, maybe even a good one. You have a home, food, safety. But you feel hollowed out. You wake up and the first thing you feel is dread. Not for any specific reason, just dread as a baseline state. You go through your day performing competence while your mind tears itself apart with doubt, comparison, and an exhausting internal commentary that never shuts off. You watch others seem to glide through life with ease, and you wonder what they have that you do not. The answer is simple, though not easy. They have mental architecture. They have built internal systems that you have not. And because you have not built them, your mind is a haunted house where every shadow is a threat and every noise is a disaster. I learned this the hard way. There was a time in my life when I believed that success was about who you knew, what you learned, how hard you worked. And those things matter. They absolutely matter. But I watched men with every advantage collapse under pressure, while others with nothing but will survived and thrived. I watched intelligent people sabotage themselves repeatedly, not because they lacked information, but because their minds had no discipline. I watched talented individuals give up on dreams, not because the dreams were impossible, but because their internal voice convinced them they were not worth the effort. And I realized something that changed everything for me. Talent is common. Opportunity is more available now than at any point in human history. What is rare, almost extinct, is the mental fortitude to continue when continuation feels unbearable. That is the differentiator. That is the edge. That is what I am going to teach you to build. But first, we need to name the enemies. Because you cannot fight what you do not see, and most people are losing battles they do not even know they are in. The first enemy is distraction. Not just the obvious kind, the phone, the notifications, the endless scroll, but the deeper kind. The distraction of caring what everyone thinks. The distraction of comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. The distraction of believing that your value is determined by external validation rather than internal alignment. This enemy is insidious because it does not feel like an enemy. It feels like staying informed, like being connected, like being aware. But it is killing you slowly, fracturing your attention into 1,000 meaningless pieces until you cannot focus on anything that actually matters. You wake up and immediately check what others are doing, what they are achieving, what they are saying. You measure your morning against their highlight reel. You feel behind before your day has even started. This is not connection. This is self-destruction. This is not awareness. This is voluntary imprisonment. And the worst part is how normal it has become. Everyone does it, so it must be fine. But everyone is also anxious, depressed, and feeling inadequate. Perhaps there is a connection. The second enemy is comfort. The human brain is wired to seek ease, to avoid pain, to find the path of least resistance. This was useful when survival meant conserving energy for hunting and running from predators. It is a disaster in the modern world, where your greatest threats are not physical, but psychological. Comfort is the voice that says stay in bed, skip the workout, watch one more episode, have the drink, avoid the difficult conversation, wait until you feel ready. Comfort is not your friend. Comfort is the slow death of potential. It is the warm bath you drown in while convincing yourself you are just relaxing. I see this everywhere. People who want to be writers but never write, because writing is uncomfortable. People who want to be fit but never train because training is hard. People who want meaningful relationships but never have difficult conversations because vulnerability feels dangerous. They are waiting to feel comfortable with discomfort, which is like waiting to feel dry underwater. It will never happen. Comfort and growth are opposing forces. You must choose one or the other. Most people choose comfort and then wonder why their lives feel small. The third enemy is your own mind. Specifically, the undisciplined, reactive, chaotic version of your mind that has been running your life by default. This mind catastrophizes everything. It replays past failures on loop. It invents future disasters. It takes a single criticism and turns it into a life sentence. It compares you to everyone and finds you lacking in every comparison. It tells you that you are too old, too young, too inexperienced, too damaged, too late. This mind is not evil. It is trying to protect you. But it is protecting you from growth, from risk, from the very things you need to become strong. And until you learn to quiet it, to redirect it, to train it like you would train an undisciplined dog, it will continue to run your life into the ground. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever possess, but untrained it becomes your greatest liability. It will talk you out of every good decision. It will magnify every small setback into a catastrophe. It will convince you that safety is more important than purpose, that comfort is more valuable than growth, that the opinions of strangers matter more than your own self-respect. Here is what most people do not understand about mental strength. It is not something you are born with. It is not a genetic gift that some have and others lack. It is a skill. It is a practice. It is a structure you build, brick by brick, choice by choice, moment by moment. And like any structure, it requires a foundation. The foundation of mental strength is self-awareness, not the shallow kind, not the version where you know you are sad or stressed or tired. The deep kind. The kind where you can observe your own thoughts without being consumed by them. Where you can notice the pattern before it destroys you. Where you can catch yourself spiraling and choose differently. Most people are not aware they are reactive. Something happens and they feel and they act, all in a blur of unconscious programming. Strong people insert space between stimulus and response. They see the trigger, they feel the emotion, and then they choose how to respond rather than just reacting from instinct. This space, this pause, this moment of conscious choice is where all power lives. Without it, you are just a biological machine running old software. With it, you become the programmer of your own life. I will tell you exactly how to build this. First, you must start paying attention to your internal dialogue. For one full day, just notice what you say to yourself. Do not try to change it yet, just observe it. Write it down if you need to. You will be shocked, maybe even horrified, by how cruel you are to yourself. You would never speak to another human being the way you speak to yourself in your own mind. You call yourself stupid, lazy, worthless, a failure. You do this casually, constantly, as if it is normal. It is not normal, it is self-destruction. And it is the first thing that must change. Once you see it, you can begin to challenge it. When the voice says you are not good enough, you pause and ask, is that actually true? What evidence do I have? What would I say to a friend who said this about themselves? You start treating yourself with the same compassion you would offer to someone you care about. This is not soft, this is strategic. You cannot build strength on a foundation of self-hatred. Every empire built on rotten ground eventually collapses. Your mind is your ground, make it solid. But self-awareness alone is not enough. You must also develop what I call emotional literacy. This is the ability to name what you are feeling with precision. Most people have a vocabulary of maybe 5 emotions. Happy, sad, angry, tired, stressed. That is it. But there are hundreds of emotional states. and the inability to distinguish between them leaves you powerless. When you can only say, "I feel bad," you cannot address the root cause. But when you can say, "I feel resentful because I said yes when I wanted to say no," or "I feel anxious because I am avoiding a decision I know I need to make," or "I feel hollow because I have been consuming instead of creating," now you have something to work with. Now you can take action. Precision in language creates precision in thought. Precision in thought creates precision in action. This is why people who cannot name their emotions keep repeating the same patterns. They are fighting an enemy they cannot see. Second, you must develop the ability to sit with discomfort without escaping. This is where most people fail. They feel anxiety and immediately reach for the phone. They feel boredom and immediately seek stimulation. They feel sadness and immediately try to numb it with food, alcohol, shopping, anything to not feel what they are feeling. But here is the truth. The discomfort you avoid becomes the prison you live in. Every time you run from a feeling, you teach your brain that the feeling is dangerous, and your tolerance for discomfort shrinks. You become weaker. The way to become stronger is to do the opposite. Feel the feeling fully. Sit with the anxiety, let it peak. Notice that it does not kill you. Notice that it passes. Do this enough times and your nervous system learns that discomfort is not a threat. It is just information. And when discomfort stops controlling you, you become free in a way most people never experience. They spend their entire lives running from feelings, which means they spend their entire lives being controlled by feelings. You can break this pattern. You can sit still when everything in you wants to move. You can be present when everything in you wants to escape. This is power. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that changes everything. I want you to understand something crucial here. Most people think mental strength means not feeling fear, not feeling doubt, not feeling weakness. This is completely wrong. Mental strength means feeling all of those things and proceeding anyway. It means waking up terrified and still taking the next step. It means doubting yourself and still honoring your commitments. It means feeling weak and still showing up. The strongest people I know are not fearless. They are intimate with fear. They have felt it so many times that it no longer controls them. They have learned to act with fear present, not to wait until fear disappears. Because fear never fully disappears when you are doing something that matters. If you are not afraid, you are not growing. If you are comfortable, you are stagnating. Mental strength is not the absence of difficulty. It is the capacity to continue through difficulty without breaking. Third, you must establish non-negotiable standards for yourself. Not goals, standards. Goals are things you hope to achieve. Standards are things you refuse to fall below. A goal is, I want to work out 5 times this week. A standard is, I am the kind of person who takes care of my body, so I move every day no matter how I feel. A goal is, I want to read more. A standard is, I am someone who grows my mind, so I read for at least 15 minutes before I check my phone each morning. Do you see the difference? Goals are external, standards are identity. And identity is everything. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. If you see yourself as disciplined, you will be disciplined even when you do not feel like it. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you will quit even when success is close. Mental strength is built by becoming someone who does not break their own promises. Start small. Pick one standard. Honor it every single day for 30 days. Watch what happens to your self-respect, your confidence, your belief in your own capability. It will transform you. Most people have no standards. They do whatever they feel like in the moment and then wonder why their life has no structure. They wake up when they feel like it. They eat what they crave. They work when they are motivated. They rest when they are bored. They are completely at the mercy of their fluctuating moods and temporary feelings. And because feelings change constantly, their life is chaos. One day they are committed, the next day they have forgotten. One week they are disciplined, the next week they have relapsed. They never build momentum because they never maintain consistency. And they never maintain consistency because they have tied their behavior to their feelings instead of their identity. This is the fundamental error. Feelings are weather. They change hourly. Identity is architecture. It endures. Build on architecture, not on weather. Fourth, you must learn to control your focus. Your life is a direct reflection of what you consistently pay attention to. If you focus on problems, you will find more problems. If you focus on what you lack, you will feel perpetual scarcity. If you focus on other people's achievements, you will feel like a failure. This is not toxic positivity, this is practical neuroscience. Your brain has a filter called the reticular activating system, and it shows you more of whatever you tell it is important. So if you spend your day consuming news about how terrible everything is, your brain will find evidence everywhere that everything is terrible. If you spend your day looking for reasons to be grateful, your brain will find those too. Strong people do not ignore reality. They choose which reality to amplify. They acknowledge challenges without being consumed by them. They see setbacks as data, not as identity. They train their focus like an athlete trains their body, deliberately and consistently. Let me be very clear about something. The world is designed to steal your focus. Every app, every platform, every algorithm, every advertisement is engineered by the smartest people with the most resources to capture and hold your attention. They have studied your psychology. They know your weaknesses. They exploit your dopamine system. And they are winning. The average person checks their phone over 150 times per day. They cannot sit in silence for 5 minutes. They cannot complete a task without distraction. They have the attention span of a goldfish and the focus of a moth near a flame. This is not an accident. This is by design. Because distracted people are profitable people. Distracted people buy more, consume more, compare more, feel inadequate more. Distracted people are easy to control because they never think deeply enough to question the system. So when you choose to control your focus, when you choose to be present, when you choose to build something that requires sustained attention, you are not just improving your life. You are committing an act of rebellion against a system that profits from your fragmentation. Fifth, you must build a tolerance for being misunderstood. This is critical, and almost no one talks about it. Weak people need everyone to understand them, to approve of them, to validate their choices. So they spend their entire lives performing for an audience that does not care and contorting themselves to fit expectations that are not even real. Strong people accept that most people will not understand them, and they make peace with it. They stop explaining, stop justifying, stop seeking permission. They know what they are building and why it matters, and that is enough. This does not mean being arrogant or dismissive. It means being grounded in your own values so deeply that external opinions become weather, noticeable but not controlling. The moment you stop needing everyone to agree with you is the moment you become dangerous to mediocrity. I have learned that the people most offended by your growth are usually the people most invested in your stagnation. When you start changing, when you start setting boundaries, when you start choosing differently, you hold up a mirror to everyone around you who is still stuck, and they do not like what they see, so they will try to pull you back. They will call you obsessed, extreme, selfish, changed. They will remind you of who you used to be. They will question your choices, not because they care about you, but because your evolution threatens their comfort. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them be confused. Let them think you have lost your mind. You have not lost your mind. You have found your spine, and that is far more valuable. Sixth, you must develop what I call constructive paranoia. This is not the unhealthy kind where you trust no one and see threats everywhere. This is the useful kind where you assume nothing is guaranteed and prepare accordingly. Weak people assume things will work out. Strong people assume things will go wrong and build resilience anyway. Weak people are shocked by setbacks. Strong people are shocked when things go smoothly. This mindset shift changes everything. When you expect difficulty, you are not devastated by difficulty. When you assume obstacles, you have already planned for obstacles. When you prepare for the worst while working for the best, you become nearly impossible to break. Most people are fragile because they have built their entire lives on optimistic assumptions. One unexpected event and they collapse. Do not be fragile. Be resilient. Resilience is not hoping nothing goes wrong. It is being able to continue when everything goes wrong. Now here is where it all comes together. Mental strength is not about being hard. It is about being clear. It is not about suppressing emotion. It is about choosing how you respond to emotion. It is not about never feeling fear. It is about acting despite fear. It is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. The strongest people I have ever met are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who fall and get back up again and again, without drama, without excuses, without waiting for motivation. They understand something fundamental. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. Discipline is a decision, and decisions create destiny. Let me tell you what happens. When you develop real mental strength, first you stop being surprised by difficulty. You expect it. You prepare for it. You do not collapse when things get hard, because hard is the baseline, not the exception. Second, you stop needing external validation. You know your own worth, and it is not determined by likes, comments, promotions, or praise. It is intrinsic. Third, you stop quitting, not because you never want to quit. You will want to quit constantly, but because you have built the mental architecture that allows you to continue, even when every cell in your body is screaming for you to stop. Fourth, you become calm. Not the fake calm of someone pretending everything is fine, but the real calm of someone who knows they can handle whatever comes. And fifth, you start winning. Not in the flashy, Instagram-worthy way, but in the deep, meaningful way. You win the battle with yourself every morning. You win the war against distraction. You win the long game of building something real instead of just appearing to be successful. But here is what you need to understand. This is not a one-time transformation. This is a daily practice. Mental strength is like a muscle. It atrophies when you stop using it. You do not develop it once and then coast. You develop it every single day by making choices that align with who you are trying to become. Some days will be easy. You will feel strong. You will feel clear. You will feel unstoppable. Other days will be brutal. You will feel weak, confused, defeated. On those days, you do not need to feel strong. You just need to keep your standards. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to not quit. That is the secret. That is the whole game. Show up when you do not want to. Keep going when it feels pointless. Honor your commitments to yourself even when no one is watching. Do that enough times and you become unbreakable. I have seen people transform their entire lives by implementing these principles. I have watched individuals go from chronically anxious to deeply calm, from perpetually starting over to finally finishing what they start, from feeling like victims of circumstance to becoming architects of their own reality. And the beautiful thing is, it does not require talent, connections, money, or luck. It requires a decision to stop living reactively and start living deliberately, a decision to stop blaming external circumstances and start building internal strength, a decision to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating momentum right now. Let me share something with you that took me years to understand. Most people are not actually weak, they just have weak systems. They have not structured their environment to support strength. They keep their phone next to their bed and wonder why they cannot sleep well. They surround themselves with negative people and wonder why they feel drained. They consume junk food and wonder why they have no energy. They watch hours of content designed to make them feel inadequate and wonder why they feel bad about themselves. They have built a life that makes weakness inevitable and then blame themselves for being weak. This is backwards. If you want to be strong, you must first build an environment that makes strength the path of least resistance. Remove the junk food from your house. Delete the apps that waste your time. Distance yourself from people who drain your energy. Create friction between you and your bad habits. Create ease between you and your good habits. This is not willpower, this is architecture. And architecture always beats willpower in the long run. I watch people try to change through sheer force of will, and it never lasts. They wake up one day motivated and decide they are going to transform everything at once. They are going to work out twice a day, read for 3 hours, meditate, journal, eat perfectly, sleep 8 hours, build a business, and become a completely different person by next month. This lasts approximately 4 days before they burn out and return to their old patterns, now with added shame about failing again. This is not how change works. Change is not a dramatic explosion. It is a quiet accumulation. It is doing one small thing consistently until it becomes automatic, then adding another small thing. It is building so gradually that you barely notice until one day you look back and realize you are completely different. This is why systems beat goals. Goals are about the destination. Systems are about the journey. And since you will spend far more time journeying than arriving, you better build a journey you can sustain. Another thing people get wrong is they think mental strength means doing everything alone. They wear isolation like a badge of honor. They refuse help, refuse support, refuse community. This is not strength. This is stupid pride. Real strength is knowing when to ask for help. Real strength is building a network of people who challenge you to be better. Real strength is surrounding yourself with others who are committed to growth so that growth becomes your normal. The strongest people I know are not lone wolves, they are pack leaders. They have built relationships with other strong people, and they push each other forward. If you are the strongest person in your circle, you are in the wrong circle. You need people who intimidate you a little, who are doing things you have not done yet, who hold you to a higher standard than you hold yourself. This is not about comparison, this is about calibration. You become like the people you spend time with. Choose carefully. Now, let me address something uncomfortable. Mental strength requires sacrifice. It requires saying no to things that feel good in the moment, but hurt you long term. It requires disappointing people who want you to stay small. It requires giving up the comfort of victimhood. Because here is an ugly truth most people do not want to hear. Victimhood is comfortable. It absolves you of responsibility. It gives you someone to blame. It provides an identity without requiring any effort. Victim is easy, victor requires work. And most people, if they are honest, prefer easy. They prefer to blame their parents, their circumstances, their bad luck, the economy, the system. And yes, all of those things can make life harder. But they do not make strength impossible. In fact, some of the strongest people I have ever met came from the worst circumstances, because they had no choice but to become strong. They could not rely on advantages, so they built internal resources. They could not wait for rescue, so they rescued themselves. They are proof that your circumstances do not determine your outcome. Your response to your circumstances determines your outcome. This is the part where I need to be direct with you. You are probably not going to do this. Most people who read this or hear this will nod along, feel inspired for about 15 minutes, and then return to exactly how they were living before. They will go back to scrolling, to complaining, to starting and stopping, to living at the mercy of their moods, and in 5 years they will be in the exact same place, just older and more bitter about it. I am not saying this to be cruel. I am saying this because it is statistically true. Most people do not change because change is uncomfortable, and humans are biologically wired to avoid discomfort. So they stay stuck, not because they lack information, but because they lack commitment. They want the results of discipline without the practice of discipline. They want the life of a strong person without the daily choices of a strong person. It does not work that way. You do not get the harvest without planting the seeds. You do not get the strength without lifting the weight. You do not get the transformation without doing the work. But maybe you are different. Maybe you are tired enough of your own patterns that you are actually willing to change. Maybe you have failed enough times that you are ready to try a different approach. Maybe you have lost enough years to distraction and weakness that you are finally ready to build something real. If that is you, if you are actually serious, then understand this. The work starts immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, right now. Close this and go do one hard thing. Just one. Have the conversation you have been avoiding. Start the project you have been postponing. Say no to something you always say yes to. Do something that scares you a little. Do not wait for the perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect feeling. Just move. Action creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. And momentum creates the life you actually want. Here is what I want you to remember. Mental strength is not about being superhuman. It is about being fully human. It is about feeling everything: fear, doubt, anxiety, sadness, and choosing to act in alignment with your values anyway. It is about honoring your commitments even when your feelings change. It is about building something that lasts instead of just chasing what feels good. It is about becoming someone you respect when you look in the mirror. That is the real victory. Not the external achievements, not the recognition, not the status. The real victory is internal. It is knowing that you did not quit on yourself. It is knowing that you kept your word. It is knowing that when life got hard, you did not break, you built. That is what mental strength gives you, not a perfect life, but an unbreakable self. The world will not make this easy for you. Society profits from your weakness, from your distraction, from your insecurity. Every algorithm, every advertisement, every cultural message is designed to keep you fragmented, anxious, and consuming. So understand that choosing mental strength is an act of rebellion. It is choosing to be whole in a world that wants you broken. It is choosing to be focused in a world that profits from your distraction. It is choosing to be sovereign in a world that wants you dependent. This is not dramatic. This is simply true. And the moment you truly commit to this path, you will feel the resistance from others who are comfortable with your weakness, from parts of yourself that prefer the familiar pain to the unknown growth, from circumstances that seem designed to test whether you actually mean it. The resistance is proof you are moving in the right direction. Easy paths do not create strong people. Difficult paths do. So let me ask you directly, do you mean it? Are you willing to sit with discomfort instead of numbing it? Are you willing to keep promises to yourself even when no one else knows you made them? Are you willing to be misunderstood by people who live differently? Are you willing to do the work when you do not feel like it, which will be most of the time? Because if you truly are, then nothing can stop you. Not circumstances, not setbacks, not other people's opinions, not even your own mind. You become a force, not a loud force, not a performative force, but a quiet, steady, inevitable force. The kind of person who decides something and then simply does it, without fanfare, without excuses, without needing anyone to understand. I am not promising this will be easy. I am not promising you will feel motivated every day. I am not promising that everyone will support you or that the path will be clear. What I am promising is this. If you build mental strength, if you develop the internal architecture that allows you to continue, when continuation feels impossible, you will win. Not because winning is guaranteed, but because the person who cannot be stopped eventually breaks through everything in their path. Time is going to pass anyway. Difficulty is going to come anyway. The question is not whether you will face hard things. The question is whether you will face them with strength or with weakness, whether you will crumble or whether you will endure, whether you will quit or whether you will keep building. Most people never develop this. They live their entire lives at the mercy of their moods, their circumstances, their fears. They have flashes of motivation followed by longer periods of collapse. They start strong and finish nowhere. They have potential but no structure. They have dreams but no discipline. And they die with their best self still trapped inside them, unexpressed, unrealized, unlived. Do not be most people. Most people are not happy, they are comfortable. Most people are not fulfilled, they are distracted. Most people are not strong, they are just surviving. You can be different. You can be the one who breaks the pattern, the one who builds while others complain, the one who persists while others quit, the one who becomes strong while others stay weak. It starts today, not tomorrow, not Monday, not after you figure everything out. Today, right now, with one choice, one promise to yourself, one moment where you do the hard thing instead of the easy thing. That is the seed. Water it daily with consistent action, and it becomes a tree that nothing can uproot. Let it die by waiting for the perfect conditions, and you will wait forever. The perfect conditions do not exist. Strong people are not made in perfect conditions. They are forged in difficult ones. They are shaped by the very pressure that crushes weaker people. So stop waiting, stop preparing, stop researching and planning and hoping. Start building. Start now. Start small if you need to, but start. Make today the day you decided to become someone who cannot be broken. You have one life, one chance to see what you are actually capable of when you stop limiting yourself with weak thinking. One opportunity to find out who you become when you develop real mental strength. Most people will never know because they never try. They stay safe, they stay small, they stay comfortable until they die. You do not have to be them. You can choose differently right now, not because it is easy, not because you feel ready, but because you are tired of being weak, because you are exhausted from quitting, because you know somewhere deep inside that you are capable of so much more than you are currently expressing. That knowing is real. Trust it, honor it, build from it. This is your moment. This is where everything changes, not because of some external shift, but because you decided that mental strength is not optional, it is essential. Because you decided that the way you have been living is not sustainable. Because you decided that you would rather endure the pain of discipline than the pain of regret. Make that decision now. Commit to it fully. And then watch what happens when you finally become the person you have always known you could be. The person who keeps going. The person who honors their word. The person who cannot be stopped. That person is not far away. That person is not a fantasy. That person is one decision repeated daily, consistently, relentlessly, until it becomes who you are. Start now, build strength, win.